Dan Dunleavy on the call. Sabres win. They beat Carolina yesterday and look good doing so. Joining us on the phone line here to chat about it is Paul Hamilton. His appearance brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this. Paul, good morning. I'll tell you, there's a lot to get to, but perhaps the most surprising thing for me is how Jason Zucker has not looked like a guy that didn't eat for a week and a half.
No.
Right? Like, we'd heard he'd been sick and he had a viral thing and he hadn't eaten anything solid. He looks fine.
Yeah, no, and he came back. That was supposed to be his comeback game on Sunday, but he came back on Friday and had a goal and an assist, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. And or might have had 3 points in that game, actually, now that I think of it.
Everyone had points in that game.
Yeah.
Friday.
I think he had 3 points in that game. So I think he's had 4 in the 2 games and has looked just fine, as you said. He hasn't looked run down, even like late in the game or anything like that. And, he and Benson have had the desired effect that you would have hoped they would coming back into the lineup.
So, Paul, it's 4 out of 5 now, and you can talk about last night's game specifically, Friday too. But in this stretch, I mean, it feels like they're not just getting lucky with the wins. I mean, if we take the Calgary game out in the middle, that the wins, they look like they are performing better than their opponent. And a lot of these teams they've played lately are either playoff teams or teams that are in first place.
Yeah, and hey, thanks to the Buffalo Sabres, the Calgary Flames are winning hockey games. They beat Dallas the other night, and they won again last night. They're at Vancouver, I think they beat last night. So all of a sudden, Calgary is starting to win some hockey games after beating the Buffalo Sabres. So maybe that wasn't quite as embarrassing as I thought it was when it happened. But that's the thing. I mean, look at what they beat Chicago by 6 goals. They beat Carolina by 3 goals, so that's +9. They're still -4 in goal differential. That's how bad they were as far as being the worst team in the Eastern Conference, not only record-wise, but in goal differential. And for the first time since November 5th, they are out of the Eastern Conference cellar by points percentage. Buffalo is now at .500. The New York Rangers are .478. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are now the worst team in the Eastern Conference at .477. I did not have that on my bingo card for November 24th. Next up now, and that's, you know what, guys, that's how you got to look at it. When you got to leapfrog everybody, you can't look at it like I am and saying, well, they got to get over 8 teams. No, you got to look at it. Who's next? All right, yep. Toronto. They're the team in front of us. Let's catch them. Once you catch Toronto, all right, Rangers. Let's catch them. And now they've caught the Rangers. Next up, Washington Capitals at 5:45. You set your sights on them. And do it one at a time. It's too much of a chore when you look at it and say, we got to leapfrog 8 teams. I mean, you just got to look at it one at a time. And start trying to make your way up the standings that way.
Paul Hamilton joining us, chatting about the Sabres and their win over the Hurricanes and also the Blackhawks from Friday as well. Paul, it's a team that they've had their trouble scoring. I know that would, the big thing was they were going to get better defensively, and they didn't feel like it would affect their scoring. Now, these last couple games, they've had that touch. Have you noticed anything different in the way that they are playing to get this scoring touch back?
Well, they're working hard. They're trying to compete in front of the net, and they're trying to compete in the offensive zone to win battles. If you don't win any battles, you probably aren't going to score too many goals. And really, in the games that they don't play well in, it's not like, they played really well, but they just didn't win the hockey game. They didn't play well. They didn't battle. And that's the thing Lindy Ruff really, really was upset about at the Calgary game is he went and looked at the 50-50 battles, and he said, I'll be honest with you, so we won 30% of them. He goes, you're not going to win hockey games if you only win 30% of the battles. He goes, there's no way. And that was what he really, really impressed upon his team is you can't let the other team come out on 70% of the 2-on-2 battles or the 50% battles and expect you're going to win the hockey game, because you're just not. And that's what they improved in those two games. And interestingly enough, too, and I knew they'd beaten. I remember they had beaten Carolina twice last year at home. I didn't realize they now have beaten Carolina 5 straight times at home. Because you think of Carolina and you think of problems.
Yeah.
But really, if you think of Carolina, it's problems in Carolina. It's something like 12 games since they've had a winner. Or, I'm trying to think back when the loss in Carolina. I think it was 12, or it's in that area. That they haven't won there, but they have been able to beat them 5 times in a row here. And the key to beating them is being patient. If you're patient and don't get all excited and don't sit there and say, we just got to win this. The game's in the neutral zone. This sucks. If you just be patient with them and don't fall into their trap, because that's when they beat you. You get all, and then you make mistakes, and then the puck's in your net. And right now, just with 9 goals in one game and 4 goals in another, they're 9th in goal scoring at 3.18. They're number 9 in the NHL. They're right behind the Vegas Golden Knights at 3.19. So they're climbing the goals for standings here and trying to get back maybe where they were last year. That's about where they were last year in scoring goals.
Paul, was the goal that Beck Malenstein scored yesterday the most beautiful goal from an unlikely source you've ever seen?
No, because as soon as I scored it, I go, is Dan Dunleavy yelling Mayday yet?
That's the Brad May goal, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that is absolutely the Brad May goal. Except Brad May undressed Ray Bourque.
Right.
Malenstein, give him credit. He knew Aho was back there. It was a forward. So he knew that maybe he could pull something sweet off when you've got a forward back there. So, he made the move, made Aho look silly. In Brad May's case, he made a Hall of Famer, Ray Bourque, look silly. But I immediately thought of the Mayday goal. It was almost – the only difference was it came from the other side of the rink. But, it was – just one of those goals that you're not expecting Beck Malenstein to score. Is only his 2nd goal of the year, but at least in Beck Malenstein's case, when he doesn't chip it at all, and that's what you're looking for, him to chip in. I mean, he's not a 20-goal scorer in any stretch of the imagination. But in the Calgary game, if you had to pick a guy who did compete, it was him and Krebs. I just remember they were winning battles. When Lindy Ruff said we only won 30% of the battles, I bet those two won most of them. So he's always in the fray, and he gets scoring chances at times and just can't capitalize on them. But he's around the net. He's around the forecheck. He's using his speed to get in on the forecheck and all those things that Lindy Ruff is looking for from the whole team. So as Lindy Ruff said, he goes, when he scored that goal, he goes, you should have seen the bench. He goes, his teammates went wild. He goes, they just were so happy for him that he was able to contribute in an offensive way like that.
Paul Hamilton joining us here on the Sabres win over Carolina. What's the plan in goal going forward?
Well, I'd be pretty surprised if it wasn't Luukkonen on Wednesday. I mean, he has 2 wins in a row. In the 9-3 win over Chicago, he was fine, but I didn't think he was great. I didn't like the 2nd goal on him. He did give up 3, but he made the big save on the big player, on a breakaway, and he made the big save just like Ellis did in the big win that he backstopped, where Ellis stopped Hyman 5 seconds into the game. He had a breakaway within the first minute. Doc came in on him. I think it was the minute 5. And he made a big save there. And if Chicago scores there, who knows if the game's different. If it's 1-0 Chicago right there. So That was a huge save, and Lindy Ruff has been talking about, as you've heard me for years now. I look at the big save at the big time more than I do anything else in a goaltender, and that's what Luukkonen did when he went on that 30-game streak a couple of years ago at the end of the year. He was making the big save at the big time, and I remember talking about it a lot. That when they needed a big save, he made it, and he did that in that game, which I think earned him this start. Because it was funny, we were trying to figure out who the goaltender was going to be, and Mike Harrington thought it'd be Lyon. I thought it'd be Ellis, because I thought Ellis only's had one bad game in the NHL out of 5, and it was the last one. And I thought they might want to get him in net pretty quick to see how he reacts to it. So that I really was convinced that he would be the guy in goal for this game. But just like when he said when Ellis was getting those starts and Ellis was making the big saves, I think Lindy Ruff thought against Chicago when it mattered, before it got out of hand, Luukkonen made the big saves at the big time. He's talked about that breakaway save. He goes, that's a 5-3 game. If all of a sudden the Hawks score, it's 5-4. Buffalo hadn't pulled away yet. And now what happens? Do they get full of confidence? So I think that's why he earned the start on Sunday, and he played very well. Although, you know what? The 13-4 shots, I don't think, told you what was happening in the third period. Carolina is a shot volume team. I mean, they average 33.7 shots per game. So they throw the puck at the net from anywhere, and that's kind of what they were doing in the third. And Luukkonen was doing his job. He was making the saves, keeping the rebounds around him, freezing the puck. But if you think about it, how many grade A chances did Carolina really have in the third period? The Sabres are keeping them out to the outskirts, shots from the point, shots from the sidewall. And so I never thought to myself, even though the shots were 13-4, that, the Sabres are really getting themselves into trouble here. It's only 3-1. This doesn't look good. Carolina's going to win this game. I never felt that way, even though, they had some shot volume in that period.
Paul Hamilton joining us. His appearance brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this. Next up, Pittsburgh, and beat a Penguins team that's had a great start to the year. They're not expected to, but here they are having a great start. So Paul will be eagerly anticipating that game with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and Buffalo has a 1-game winning streak on the road there, but they're 1-5-2 on the road, and that's the unfortunate part of it is they've played 14 home games, and they have a pretty good 8-4-2 record at home. But they've only played 8 road games, so the road games are coming.
Yeah.
And
going to find a way to get some wins there.
Yeah, I know they'll be back home on Friday, and then kind of a goofy back-to-back. You have a home game on Friday and a road game in Minnesota. And then, they start that really wild road trip in December. It starts in Philadelphia, and then it's Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Seattle. So that should tell us a lot. I mean, if they continue to climb up the standings this week, but then they go on that road trip, I think that's going to tell us a lot in early December.
Thanks, Paul.
Take care, guys.